and my critics. Before I started to give you the message, I would like you all to subscribe to the channel and press the bell so you will get the next update as soon as I go on the program. Anyhow, today I want to touch on some very important thing that I was looking on Facebook, and I saw the opposition leader, Mr. Norton, was speaking, and yes, whatever he was saying makes sense because he was exposing Barry Jagdeo and all the fault. And of course, that's the job of a opposition, the critics. Because in politics or in anything progressive from priest right back, if you do not accept criticism, then you're not ready to be a leader, a preacher, or anything in the progressive world. So sometimes criticism keeps us on track. Now, by saying all of that, let me enlighten the Guyanese. I read a lot from the diaspora. And yes, of course, everybody have an idea, and I respect it. But I want to ask my colleagues, if you are the African descendant or an Indian descendant, first I want to ask you simple. Guyana have 6 races, 6 people, 6 nations. The other 4 reach the shore of Guyana and they reach a people there before. And the other one was born in Guyana for many other races, which we call the Douglas or the Cosmopolitan or the mixed race. So really and truly we could say one was there before, and those who marry and get mixed up in other race and the children born there, they are the true Guyanese. Let's deal with the Portuguese. Were not they a slave also? But they didn't drop from Mars or came up from the ocean. Not the Chinese. Why only the African descendant always have to demand emancipation and speak about ancestor problem going back hundreds of years? And then the East Indian descendant came about with day of arrival. Ladies and gentlemen, I will clearly say to you, if you do not accept your birthrights, then you are not from Guyana and you should not be allowed to run for no political office, nor even be a judge, a magistrate, or a policeman in a country that you don't belong to. And I will deal with the African descendant first. When you are not intelligent enough and only listen to them say and who say and she say, we end up in a lot of problem. But before I go on to that, a few of my Jewish colleagues who look at my video, they like what I'm saying, but they also say, for the majority of the people who don't understand what you're speaking, even though they take things wrong, I must apologize for the Hitler syndrome. Well, I would say this to the people who offended. I apologize for the name when I said the world need another Hitler. But we have lived through many things. The Caesar, the Pharaoh, and many other nations have suffered the consequences. We have lived through the Saddam Hussein. We have lived through the Noriega. And many, many names I will not mention here today. And even today, we see what Russia is doing to Ukraine. We see what happened in Rwanda. But I use these things as a matter of an example. Like at times I use the flood and why God saved 8 and drowned everything else. And why must I turn my face if a man slapped me on the right? I must give you the other side. I ask this question because I want to know why. I don't see God. I don't even see the devil. But if I do something wrong, oh, the devil. And if I do something good, God is with me. God bless me. Ladies and gentlemen, these are not talks for us. We must do good at all times. Even if our enemy came to us for assistance, we must give it to them, because that means that person is not your enemy once they come back to you humbly for an assistance or anything. It's just a misunderstanding. It depends upon the crime also. Because if you kill mine, I got to kill yours. That's the name of the game. Because as a Christian, or a Christian especially, leave it to God, for he said vengeance is his. But ladies and gentlemen, for thousands of years, so many thousands and millions of people have died in war and everything else. And on to this day, their generation is dead and gone, and maybe others live on, and still I'm not seeing any justice for the innocent people who was hurt. I want to make it clear. I must respect your boundary, you respect mine. If you hit me, and you mean it, I'm going to hit you back. If you kill my family, I'm coming for yours too, because what is the sense of my living? Tell me. God will decide it when we get on the other side. 3 million years might pass and he still ain't come yet. I'm not saying there's no God, don't get me wrong. But how many faith must I have when I am following the teaching, do unto others you like them do unto you? So if I kick you, I got to expect you're going to kick my ass back. If you kill my family, you have to expect I'm coming back for it. Now, I have seen great country rise and great country fall by wars. Many hundred years was by the sword and the spears and the arrow. Today is by the gunpowders, and now the nuclear device, and missile cannons and tanks, and plane dropping bombs. But yet, God is not there to even save the innocent. It had me wondering. Sometimes I says, oh God, why you put me to suffer and tell me you're testing my faith, and from my sweat I shall live. Well, what about these people who are living on welfare and food stamp in England, Canada, America, and Australia, and elsewhere? And today, I must be honest. It is time for we who are living out of India and Africa to be united and not to hold the ancestors in the past accountable for the crime that was committed then against our ancestors. A lot of our people are doctors and lawyers, scientists and pilots, and I repeat, great musicians, soccer player, basketball player, great cricketers. Let's just go back 200 years and imagine what would have become us if we were not out of India or Africa. Maybe we wouldn't have born. So let us not question what passed and don't make it happen again. But today, those people in those days were very illiterate, ignorant, and tribal warfare. And in India was caste. Today, most of the people around the world, at least 60% of the people out of 8 billion still know to read and write. Whereas in the past, out of every 10, maybe one have known a little. Why must I and you go back 500 years, 200 years, when we can do better? And since we know that our ancestors were slaves, why are we slaving people in countries that the European, as the white man, as you the black man says, enslaving the people? You know what happened to our ancestors according to what you heard. But we are seeing what you're doing to the Arawak Indian. The indigenous people ruled by dangerous people, Africans and Indians alike. Because Chinese didn't rule in no part in the Caribbean, no Brazil. And I could tell you that clear. But we have a problem in Guyana, Trinidad, and elsewhere. In the Caribbean, it's black versus black for power, killing each other. And the same thing going on all over. But in Guyana, it is Indian versus black and black versus Indian. Now, let's look upon it. I remember a story of a woman. I won't call name. She has 5 children. Her husband is a gambler and an alcoholic. And there's always fight. There's always crushing out. And she keep putting him out steady, but forgiving him because of the children. And he do the same thing. She giving him a chance, he will never change. This is what happened in Guyana Parliament today. PPPC started out with the late Chetty Jagan, Foss Burnham, UC Quayana, and many, many more until they divide. It was divide to conquer against the European and against America with imperialists or democracy or freedom, as they say. While communists was reaping harvest along the coast of Latin and South America with Russia involved. You ever hear an Indian want to be a communist where he will share his wealth when he don't even want to feed his mother and father and robbing his brother and sister? So Jagan lied to them. But America have saved us from that. Look at the people in Cuba. Nicaragua barely try it. And look what become of them. With Ortega in Panama. They were going to fall there too, my fellow citizens. We had the PNC for 28 years with Burnham, and Digar was the finance minister until Jagan tell Burnham to get rid of him. If Digar the Portuguese didn't join with Burnham, the African descendant, Indian male would have been annihilated. Read the Jagan book, The Western Trial Part 1 and 2. CIA, they're ready because they were protecting this hemisphere because they didn't want communists here and they didn't want it close to them. If Cuba was on the mainland, they would have sink it if Fidel didn't turn those ships back to Russia and those missiles he was bringing. Today, we see Ukraine trying to join NATO, and the Russian president said you could be free, but no NATO, no missile pointing to my shore. And we all upset. But did not America do that to Cuba? Friends, but that is their problem. White man versus white man. There is no playing field for the yellow man and the brown man and the black man. Learn from lessons and history that passed. White man killed more of his own than he have killed any other race. Even in America, there was civil war. Today, our black brothers in America talking about emancipation, and they want payment for what happened in the past. But none of them suffer as their ancestors suffer. Today, I heard the Irish is claiming the same thing. And I don't blame them. If you give it to the black skinned people, you got to give it to the light skinned too because they were slaves. Friends, when would modern European, white man as we say, pay the debt for the past? Civilization had a far way to go. And since we are educated in the language of Europe, or else more, because we didn't work with Hindi, we didn't work with the African language, we must not blame India for what happened or blame Africa. We should start look at them and praise them for what happened, because we are in America flying plane, having more scar, plenty Jew will wrong our neck, while these leaders in Africa are robbing the people and lying. And in Guyana, the two-party system. Norton speak good, but when the PNC were there with Burnham, what have they done to the Indian and other race? And when the PPP was there and Jagan died, and then the others take over and Bharat, how many hundreds of people was not murdered? Young black people, I call upon you all to unite. We cannot put the two men back in power, so let's form a National Front Party where all six races shall and will be giving a fair shake and hold those 65 members in Parliament accountable. And the law must change the Constitution, because we have an institution. All of us must be judged according to the law. And all politicians in Parliament must disclose their assets. Because I was made to understand plenty got sharing plenty things. And their friends and family. So you, the black people and the Indian in Guyana, please, for God's sake, stop it and unite and let's form a National Front government with all six races. We must save Guyana. Your future of your children is at stake. Every one of you can be rich, and every citizen will serve your country once you're over 18, 4 hours a day for the protection. And deal with the UN and others, and open up the door to Africa, India, and else in the Caribbean, and suffering people and give them a chance. For this earth was created by God Almighty, Bhagwan, Allah, whoever you want to call him. It is not for you and me. Okay? So therefore, let's do that and hold all politicians accountable. And any politician use their office to deny a man or a woman justice, we want to deal with them crucially. The nation will decide it. Because they are not above the law. And the country is not their own. They are civil servants like the police, the army, and others. But at the same time, Mr. Ali is trying his best, but it's scattered. And Norton said plenty Indian are getting contract. He might be right. But on the border was plenty blacks too, Norton. Come on, brother. Don't pull the dust into people's face. And you have people from your party called APNU, AFC, after getting kicked out from PPP with you. How can we trust them when they are with you? Always remember. And how could they trust you when you grow up and don't want to accept your fault? Well, it's time for a National Front government, and we want an Amerindian man and woman to be the leader. We will stop the blacks from fighting and the Indian and unite the country and put it forward. So thank you, and that's only my opinion. And may God be with all of us. Have a good day. And I am your host, George Correa. Once again, thank you very much. Peace and good luck.